Hello once again. We are still on Module 2 of this course, GSP 1201-2201, Use of English. This is the second lecture on this module. As we said in the previous module, in the previous lecture, that there will be 2 lectures on this second module. So, we are still on basic grammar, and this is lecture 2. You are G1, Biochemistry and Nutrition and Dietetics of Bayero University, Kano, and the session is 2020-2021. Slide number 2, we'll begin with tenses. Now, a tense is a term in grammar which indicates the time of an action or an event. It is also one of the forms of a verb that shows the time and continuance or completion of an action or state expressed by the verb. Because verbs are action words, action takes place in time. So it is important to know the time that an action is taking place, whether it has taken place, whether it is taking place at the time of the speaking, or whether it is intending to take place or intended to take place in the future. This is why universally tense or time is divided into 3: present, past, and future. Present time, past time, and future time, or present tense, past tense, and future tense. So let's begin with the first one, present tense, the here and now. So the present tense generally deals with actions that are either existing or being considered now. So that is the present tense. Actions that are existing, actions that are taking place right now in the present, in real time, as we say. So the present tense has the idea of the currency associated with it. This category is divided further into 4, as you will see in the next slide. So the first category of the present tense is the present simple tense. And this tense can be used in various situations. It is formed by using the base form of the verb. For example, to express a present action, Adamu likes rice. You enjoy the lecture. Musa attends the class. So you can see that attends, enjoy, likes, these are all the base form of the verb, and they are in the present sense, so in the present tense. So this present simple, this is called the present simple tense, and it is expressing a present action, something that is constantly present. Adamu likes rice. This is not something that is going to stop. You enjoy the lecture. This is not something also, when you speak about enjoying something, I enjoy this or I enjoy that, it means it is like something that is constantly present. So this is called the present simple tense. Now, it is also used to express a repeated or habitual action. We go to the mosque every Friday. We go to the church every Sunday. I take tea every morning. So this is again expressing the present simple tense because it is expressing something habitual or something repeated, an action that takes place constantly, repeatedly. So this is present simple tense. Again, it is used to express a general action that is true, was true, and is likely to be true in the future, such as a scientific principle. The sun sets in the west. This is not going to change. Since it's not going to change, we use the present simple tense to express it. Mosquitoes transmit malaria. This is also true. Whether we like it or not, currently people are suffering from malaria all over the place. So this is a truth, a truism we call it. The earth is spherical. These are all facts that we know they are not going to change. So we don't use past tense for them. We don't say the sun is setting in the west, or we don't say the sun set in the west. This is constant. It is something that is general, that is going to be true forever. So we use the present simple tense to express it. Slide number 4. So we have number 2, the present continuous tense. After the present simple tense, we have the present continuous tense. With the present continuous tense, what we do with the present continuous tense is to express an action in progress at the time of speaking. It is formed by using am, is, are, together with the ing form of the verb. For example, I am speaking now. I am lecturing now. Am I lecturing now? You are listening. Are you listening? She is jumping. Is she jumping? So we have the declarative forms. I am lecturing now. You are listening. She is jumping. And we have the interrogative, the question forms. Am I lecturing now? Are you listening? Is she jumping? So these are examples of the present continuous tense. Slide number 5. The third type of present tense is the present perfect tense. This is used to describe an action that is completed in the past whose effect continues in the present. So what we are saying here is that something has already been done. It is finished in the past, but its effect is still being felt in the present. So there are two situations in which the present perfect tense is used, and it is formed by using has and have, has or have, plus the participle form of the verb. So to express an action that is just completed, what you say is they have arrived. Now the arrival is still imminent, it is still there, but it is done. It is in the past that they have arrived, but the effect of the arrival is still here. They have arrived. So they are still with us, right? He has finished the work. The work is still there, but it is finished. They have eaten the food. So the effect of the eating is still being felt in the present, even though it is something that, even though the action of eating itself is already completed. So this is when we use the present perfect tense when an action has just been completed. The present perfect tense is also used to express an action that is completed in the past whose effect continues again up to the present. For example, I have known Shehu for 10 years. The students have sat down. So even though it is completed in the past, the effect is still being, it continues up to the present. The students have sat down. They've already sat down, but they are still sitting down. I have known Shehu for 10 years. I've already known him. I've known him for the past 10 years. So 10 years ago, I knew Shehu, but I still know him up till today. So these are the instances where you use what is called the present perfect tense. So what you have is the has or have and the participle form of the verb. Number 4, the present perfect continuous tense. This type of tense is used to show an action which started in the past but continues up to the present time. That is, the action started, but it is still going on. It is formed by using has been or have been plus the ing form of the verb. For example, we have been receiving lectures for the past 2 weeks. So it started, but it is still going on. We have not concluded. So there's a difference between this one and the previous one. You have to take note of that. We have been receiving lectures for the past 2 weeks. I have been waiting for her since yesterday. She has been reading her book. It has been raining heavily. So all of these are sentences that are telling you that the action started in the past, but it has not finished. And so this is why we call it the present perfect continuous tense. Slide number 7. So the next tense after the present tense is the past tense. This tense expresses an action that is completed in the past. We normally use past tense when narrating a story, and this is also divided into 4, just like the present tense. The first one is the past simple tense. Remember we had the present simple? Well, we also have the past simple. This is the commonest of all the tenses, and the past simple tense is generally used to describe events, habitual activities, and states in the past. So this is done. It consists only of one verb, and it is formed by using the past form of the verb. So it's very simple. Just take the verb, turn it into the past form, and you have your past simple tense. So what do we have here? An action completed at a point in time in the past. I phoned my mother 2 months ago. Nigeria gained independence in 1960. She sat for SSCE last year. You can see this is done. It's finished. It's finished. There is nothing continuing in the present or whatever. So this is called an action. This is called a simple past tense. An action that has been completed at a point in time in the past. Then you can also use the simple past tense for habitual activities in the past. It rained every day in August. We are now in December, so you can't say it has continued raining. They went to church every Sunday. It's already past. The boys ran to school daily. So we are talking about something that has already started and finished in the past. So you can see that these are habitual activities, but they've already been done. They are over. We'll have to wait for something else to happen or for them to return again perhaps in the future. But for now, they are concluded. And for this reason, we use the past simple tense, and that is why you'll find that it is the past form of the verb that is used in these sentences. Slide number 8. Another instance in which we use the past simple tense is when we want to talk about a state in the past. For example, the soup was tasteless. Musa became rich later. So these are states of being, but which are also in the past. So for this also, we use the simple past tense and we use the past form of the verb to express them. The second type of past tense is the past continuous. This tense is used to express an action in progress or which is incomplete in the past. It is formed by using was or were plus the ing form of the verb. For example, I was eating when my sister called me. So it is talking about something, it is all in the past, it has happened, but this sentence is telling us that something was going on when something else happened. So I was eating when my sister called me. So you can see we use the verb to be was and were plus the ing form of the verb. Eating. I was eating when my sister called me. You were shouting at the top of your voice when I entered the class. I was praying in the mosque. So you can see all of this have was or were, and there is the ing form of the verb. Pray, praying, shout, shouting, eat, eating. So when you have this combination, when you want to express an action that was in progress or incomplete in the past, you use what is called the past continuous tense. Slide 9. The third type of past tense is the past perfect tense. This tense shows an action that had been completed earlier in the past before another action began. So it is formed by using had plus the past participle form of the verb. For example, I had finished the lecture before she arrived. So you see, something is concluded before something else happened, but it is all in the past. So we had taken lunch. The train had left the station when she came. So we can see had plus the participle form of a verb. This gives you the past perfect tense. The fourth one is the past perfect continuous tense. And this one shows or expresses an action that had been taking place up to when another action began. So this one is formed by using had been plus ing form of the verb. You can see that there is a difference between the past perfect and the past perfect continuous. She had been keeping the money. I had been teaching the English language. Students had been cheating in exams since before independence. So you can see that what you have as the past perfect continuous tense is that it is expression and action that had been taking place up to when another action began. So this is called the past perfect continuous tense. Slide 10. The next kind of tense is the future tense. So the future tense of verbs expresses events or actions that have not yet happened and that will happen at some point in the future. So these are things that are yet to happen, and that's what we mean. Well, of course, from the name of the tense future, it means that it is yet to happen. So the first type of future tense is the simple future tense. This one shows an action that will take place in the future. So it is formed by using will or shall plus the base form of the verb. For example, the Super Eagles will play tomorrow. They have not played. They are going to play tomorrow. So you see, the base form of the verb is play, and will is used to show that it has not happened. I shall go to Lagos next week. She will like it. This is pretty straightforward. The second type of future tense is the future continuous. And this one shows an action that will be in progress in future. So it is formed by using will or will be plus shall be plus the ing form of the verb. So whenever you have something continuous, you know that you will find the ing form of the verb. For example, we shall be finishing this lecture by next month. You will be coming next week. I will be driving home tomorrow. So all these are actions that will be taking place in the future, but they will be in continuous form. And this is why we call them future continuous tense. The next one is the future perfect tense. This one shows an action that will be finished in the future, and it is formed by using will have or shall have plus the past participle form of the verb. Example, we shall have completed this course by the end of November. The boys will have eaten by night. She will have gone home by noon. So you can see that you have shall have or will have accompanied by the past participle form of the verb, completed, eaten, or gone. The next one is the future perfect continuous tense. And this one shows an action that will have been in progress in future. And it is formed by will have been or shall have been plus the ing form of the verb. Adamu will have been eating his lunch by this time tomorrow. We shall have been completing this course by this time next month. Students will have been going home by 6 o'clock tomorrow. So this is the future perfect continuous, an action that will have been in progress in future. So will have been or shall have been are used plus the ing form of the verb, as you have seen in the sentences that have been given. Slide number 13. So let's begin with the full stop. Now the full stop is also sometimes called the period. The sign of the full stop is a dot. That's how you know, you see just one dot, that is the full stop. And it is used to mark the end of a declarative sentence. Any statement you make, the end of that statement is marked by a full stop. For example, it is raining. All Bayero University students are to bring their dictionaries to the class tomorrow. Full stop. It is raining. Full stop. The full stop is also used at the end of an imperative. That is, you can give direction, you can give a directive, an order, which may not necessarily carry the exclamation mark. Open the window, shut the door, go to school, pick up your bag. If all of this may not necessarily need exclamation marks, and for that reason, at the end of such imperatives, you find the full stop. The full stop also marks abbreviations. When you use the short forms of certain words or just letters, instead of writing the word in full, when you do that, you use the full stop to show that that letter is representing a much longer word or name. For example, Alhaji BM Muhammad. BM, of course, stands for maybe Bashir Musa, but you don't have the room or the space to write all of it. Even Alhaji itself, ALH, stands for Alhaji, so it is abbreviated. Now, whenever you abbreviate such things, you write the period. You put the period after the letter or the letters that represent the full word. And also, another example is Aliyu Kamal, PhD. So PhD, well, there are different ways of writing it. Some people write it without the dots. Some write it with the dots. PhD, Doctor of Philosophy, of course. So when you use the dots, you know, you put it, PH is for the philosophy, D is for the doctor or doctorate, and so you put the dot or the period or full stop right after the letters. And that these are the uses of the punctuation mark that is called the full stop or the period. Slide number 14. Finally, the full stop is also used by companies to in their names, so because they need to abbreviate this, and such companies are often referred to just by their initial letters. An example is BUK here, or NITEL, or NTA, MTN. You'll find that sometimes they do away with the full stop but many companies still keep it. And in such cases, when you see the dot, you know that it is the name is not complete. They are just letters that stand in for other words. Now, the next punctuation mark is the question mark. And the question mark is used after a direct question or a rhetorical question, sometimes. A rhetorical question is a question which does not require an answer. For example, when you say, "Are you serious?" Do you mean it? So these are rhetorical questions. Now, examples of direct questions are, when do you want to finish the work? How can I get to the post office? Do you know his name? And stuff like that. Any question that you ask ends with a question mark. And as you know, the sign of the question mark is there after the sentences that you can see there in front of you. And examples of rhetorical questions are, can a man ever learn from his past mistakes? How would I know that he would be angry? These are rhetorical questions, and often they also come with a question mark after them. Slide 15. The next one is the exclamation mark. Now, as the name implies, exclamation marks are used at the end of exclamatory sentences. For example, "Come here if you dare." How wonderful. Oh, amazing. What a nice idea. Now, when you have sentences like this, where there is a lot of emotion, we have already explained all of that in the previous slides and lesson. You already know that you should have the exclamation mark. So the exclamation mark indicates an intensity of emotion. When you say something like shock, surprise, or joy, or even anger, sometimes even in a command. So when you have such a situation, you use the exclamation mark. The next one is the comma. So the comma is used between words in a list. That's one way of using the comma. And this means that they are used to separate words. For example, he has milk, sugar, biscuits, soap, and bottled water. So the comma in this case, when you have a list, you are using the comma in place of and. Because using and will be too repetitive. What you do is just to put a comma between the words of the list, and then you put and between the last two words, two items or two objects of the list. So that's what you have here. You see milk, comma, sugar, comma, biscuits, comma, soap, and bottled water. So the list has 5 items on it, and when you come to the fourth one, because after that one there will be only one, you then put and. So the comma functions in this sense like the pronoun functions for the noun, replacing the noun, because repeating the noun, a name of a person over and over will be repetitive and nauseating even or boring. You use the pronouns he, him, her, she, it, and so on. So it's the same with the comma here. You put it in place of and to separate the words on the list. She has come across a short, fat, ill-tempered fellow. These are descriptions of the fellow, but you don't put them all together, so you put commas between them. Commas are also used to separate clauses in compound sentences. You know, you can have dependent clauses and independent clauses. When you have more complex sentences, you could have more than one independent clauses, more than one dependent clause. So between these clauses, when you have a clause, you are going to write another clause, you put a comma there. The chairman arrived at the conference on time, comma, because that's one clause, and everybody stood up. So even though you have an and here, you are putting a comma so as to separate the two clauses. The sun was not shining, but still it was hot. So you can see you have 2 commas here because there are different clauses or phrases. So these are the ways you use the comma. The comma indicates a kind of pause in speech. This is where you are not stopping completely, but it tells you to pause, to pause, take a breath, and then continue. The next one is the colon. And a colon is used in a sentence to introduce a list. For example, the subjects I like are, and then you put a colon. Colon are 2 dots, one above the other. English, geography, economics, government, and biology. So that colon is introducing the list. When you see the colon, you know that something is going to come after it. A list is going to come. The subjects that I like. The following school prefects have been appointed: head boy, head girl, house captains, and labor prefect. So you can see, again, this is introducing the list of prefects that have been appointed. The colon can also be used for an extension of an expressed idea or information. For example, we submitted our term papers to the teacher at different times as follows: Adamu early in the morning, Halima at noon, Muhammad in the evening. So you can see here, the whole thing is one sentence, right? But the colon is there to introduce the stages in which they made their submissions. So a colon is also used in such sentences. And then a colon is also used for formal introduction of a quotation. Yes. For example, and you can see our quotation, a colon there, even after the for example. Commenting on Bilqis's brilliant performance, the teacher said, and then you put a colon. Then you open a quotation mark, and you begin, you are a pride to my class, and then you close the quotation mark. So when you are going to introduce a quotation, sometimes you can use the colon. There are instances where some people use comma instead of the colon, but the colon is also good. When you want to introduce what somebody has said, when you have written whatever it is you want to say, and then you want to say that he said, you then put a colon after that to do so. Even for long quotations, when you want to put long quotations, before you begin the quotation, you may put a colon, and then you begin your long quotation. So these are the uses of the colon in writing. Slide number 18, the semicolon. The semicolon is used to separate clauses in a compound sentence when there is no coordinating conjunction. That is to say, you can use the semicolon instead of a coordinating conjunction. Here's an example. The farmer planted millet. He did not plant rice. You can see that in this sentence there is no conjunction, there is no and or but or although or the usual coordinating conjunctions that you should find. So when you don't use them, you can use the semicolon instead. Here's another example. I told him to wait. I did not tell him to do it. Again here, excuse me, you can see that there could have been a but there, but it's not there. So I told him to wait, but I did not tell him to do it. I told him to wait, however, I did not tell him to do it. I told him to wait, full stop. I did not tell him to do it, full stop. If you want to combine these two, you can see that you can then use a semicolon instead of using any conjunction or instead of using two sentences. This semicolon can also be used to separate clauses in a compound sentence which has but as a coordinating conjunction. For example, the trader has different kinds of goods, semicolon, but they are expensive. Again, you can see that in this case, the but is still there, but you can still use the semicolon. This is because it is a compound sentence containing two different sides, which you could separate into two different sentences, but you don't want to. No, it's not all the time that you want to write short sentences. So when you have sentences like this, even though there is a coordinating conjunction, even though there is that but, you can still use the semicolon. Another example is some students do not work hard, semicolon, but they want to pass their examinations. So you can see from these examples how the semicolon is used. Slide number 19, the apostrophe. This is another punctuation mark which we use, and sometimes it is like a contraction. A contraction is when we omit a letter or some letters from a word so that what we have is a shorter form of the word. It is not the same as an abbreviation. When we say, when you have an abbreviation, you use a period or a full stop as we have shown before. But, excuse me, but with the apostrophe, what we have is not abbreviation, it is called a contraction. And a contraction means removing one or two letters. For example, instead of saying did not, you could say didn't. So you see, you have placed the two words did not together, you've removed the O, and then you put an apostrophe between the N and the T. Instead of N-O-T, you write N apostrophe T. So this is called a contraction. So in most cases, when we contract a word, we combine it with another word so that we have a single expression. You can see that this thing is being done, in essence, just to shorten the writing or to shorten speech. So that instead of having two words, we have one, and then by having that one word, we don't put all the letters of the two words. We reduce the letters or we omit some letters so that we have just a single expression. Now, to indicate the place where the letters are missing, to show the place where you have removed those letters, that is where we use apostrophe. For example, I don't know. Don't is a contracted form of I do not know. So instead of I do not know, you combine do and not together, but instead of writing do not, you write don't. And so where you have removed that O between the N and the T, you put an apostrophe, and so it comes out as I don't know. Adam won't come. Won't is a contracted form of will not come. So you can see that in this case, because of the contraction, you don't say willn't come. You say won't. It's like would not come, but it's will not come. Adam will not come or would not come. So you contract it to say Adam won't come. The meeting will be held at 4 o'clock. O'clock, that O is of the clock, at 4 of the clock, but we have removed the F, so it is 4 o'clock. And that apostrophe is to indicate the of and the that we have removed. I am sorry to hear that. I'm is a contracted form of I am. So we have combined the word I and the word am, but we've removed A, so we put an apostrophe. Aren't you coming with me? Are you not coming with me? Or are not you coming with me? So when we contract, because we can't contract are and you, we have to contract the are and the not. So we put these two together and we have what we call aren't. Aren't you coming with me? So these are the places where some of the places where we use the apostrophe. Slide number 20. So we also use the apostrophe with S. That is after a noun or pronoun to form what we call the possessive. When something belongs to someone, we tend to add an apostrophe and an S. When you see the apostrophe and the S, you know that that thing belongs to someone. It's a sign of possession. So if the noun is singular, we place the apostrophe before the S, if there is just one person. If the noun is plural and it ends in S, then the apostrophe comes after the noun. Here are some examples. Muhammad's book is missing. Muhammad is singular, it's just one person, so we put the apostrophe before the S to show that the book that is missing belongs to Muhammad. The boy's cap is blue. It's just one boy here, so the cap belongs to that boy, and so we have apostrophe S. But in the next sentence, the girl's shoes were well polished. The girls are plural. There are many girls, and we're talking about their shoes, which are well polished. So since there are many girls here, what we have will be S. Since girls is already a plural form, it already has an S, so we simply put the apostrophe and leave out the S. So get that when a word ends with S, usually we don't add another S. We just put the apostrophe after that S. The men's bags were put on the floor. Men is already a plural term, but men does not carry S. So also women, the women's bags. So here the plural is in the letter. Instead of M-A-N, man, we have M-E-N. So in that case, since we don't have an S, we will still put the S after the apostrophe. But with dogs, you can see that dogs already, the plural form of dog is dogs. It already has an S, so you don't need to add another S. You only put the apostrophe. The dog's tails were wagging. The women's toilet is on the school premises. Slide number 21. Another punctuation mark is capitals or capital letters. So we use a capital letter for the first letter of all proper nouns. For example, the names of persons: Sani, Abdul, David, John, Anita, Aisha, Ibrahim. We also use capital letters for the names of places that exist, such as Ibadan, Calabar, Kano, Lagos, Earth, and so, Calabar, Ibadan, Kano, the US, United States of America, China, and so on and so forth. We also use it for the names of countries: Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, Cameroon, the names of mountains and rivers, right? River Niger, River Benue, Mountain Kilimanjaro, Mount Kenya, and also the names of lakes: Lake Chad, Lake Victoria, Lake Tanganyika, and so on and so forth. So you can see that you use capital letters as a punctuation mark. You use capital letters for proper nouns, proper names, names that are proper to something. Slide 22. Capital letters are also used for the names of oceans, the names of continents, the names of months, the names of days of the week, as you can see on the page before you. Other uses of the capital letter is to capitalize the first letter of the first word of every sentence. Whenever you write a sentence, it is supposed to begin with a capital letter, and that capital letter will be the first letter of the first word of that sentence. We also capitalize the first letter of every line of poetry. Now keep in mind that this one is not a hard and fast rule. In some poems, there is no capitalization whatsoever. Some poets do not capitalize all the first letters of each line. They may not do so. Some poets write their poem entirely in small letters. So keep that in mind. But conventionally, traditionally, regularly, or usually, what we do is when we have poetry, the first letter of each line starts with a capital letter. We also capitalize the pronoun I. Whenever you write the pronoun I am, I did this, and so on. I, it is always written in capital. We also capitalize the first word of the opening and closing of a letter. For example, Dear Abdul and yours sincerely. You can see that these are capitalized. When you come to the end of the letter, you don't write yours sincerely with a small letter. The opening and the closing are both capitalized. Slide number 24. This is the last slide for this second lecture of Module 2. And this has brought us to the end of our discussion on these items. So far, we have explained word classes, sentence structure and functions, tenses, and we have done punctuation. So we have 5 modules now that are left to cover the course contents. And but for your Module 2, you are done, and I look forward to meeting you again in the next module.